Taxes. We're going to raise them or lower them. How do you feel about the state tax or the state income tax, rather?
No state income tax when I'm governor. Taxes need to be lowered in this state. We were paying, the state was spending about $30 billion right before Jay Inslee took office. It's almost doubled under Jay Inslee's leadership. We're spending about $1 billion every single week, all year long. And it's coming from we, the people. It's coming out of our pockets, out of hardworking Washington citizens and business owners. And we need to lower it. And we're going to lower it by reducing the spending at the state level.
Seattle jails, shut them down, keep them open.
Seattle jails, we don't need to be shutting. No, we don't defund our police. We don't shut down our jails. That's where criminals go. And as long as they enable lawlessness, they're going to get more lawlessness. And that's going to end when I'm governor. We need law and order. There's people that live in communities that are being terrorized by people. And we have a bunch of spineless officials in Seattle and at the state level that don't want to deal with the problem. But I will not be afraid to deal with the problem. Criminals belong in jail. People that are terrorizing neighborhoods are criminals. People that are lighting buildings on fire, throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at our law enforcement, they're criminals, and they need to be put in jail. I'm going to support our law enforcement and our military when I'm governor. I'm sick and tired of seeing what's going on. If you allow lawlessness, you're going to get more and more lawlessness. That should be obvious to everyone right now.
Carbon tax. How do you feel about the carbon tax? No.
It's just another tax scheme. We have some of the cleanest air and cleanest water in the world. If someone's worried about pollution, go to China and try to get that fixed. Go to India and try to get that fixed. Or go downtown around Seattle and clean up those homeless camps where they're dumping garbage everywhere, human feces and dirty needles. Let's work on our own backyard, all right, Jay Inslee?
Would you be in favor of a tax holiday because of this whole COVID thing? You know, give the small business owners a break, folks that haven't been able to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, they should have never been shut down to begin with. But yes, I'm all for that. We need to let our small businesses recover from this, if they can even survive. You know, I don't know how long Jay Inslee is going to keep these restrictions on. I don't know how long citizens are going to keep dealing with this.
Public schools, we're going to open them or keep them shut down?
If there are any restrictions in place that Jay Inslee leaves when I take my oath of office, they will be lifted immediately. This virus has killed way less than 1% of the population. There's absolutely no reason to be violating citizens' rights, no matter what, whether it's a world war or whether it's a virus. Our rights do not come with a disclaimer that they're enforced only if there's not a virus or a war. They're enforced, and our government didn't give us our rights, so the government cannot take them away from us. People in Washington State, you know, like I tell everybody all the time, if a virus comes around, I'm going to have press conferences with the medical professionals to explain to citizens what's going on, what we should do to protect ourselves, our family, and our business, what might happen if we don't follow the medical advice. And then as governor, make sure that the supply chain is as open as possible for the equipment that's needed. And then let free individual citizens decide what's best for themselves, their family, and their business. If a business owner wants to require people to wear masks, then that's that business owner's business. If customers don't want to go in there and wear a mask, then they can go someplace else. And it works both directions. Free individual citizens make decisions for themselves. You know, and I've been asked, well, I don't trust my fellow citizens to keep me safe. And my response to them is, okay, so why do you go flying down the freeway at 60 or 70 miles per hour or a state highway at 60 miles an hour with nothing but a 5-inch strip of paint between you and a car going the other direction if you don't trust your fellow citizens? So that argument really doesn't hold much water.
So you're going to reopen the schools?
If there's any restrictions when I take office and take the oath, every restriction that Jay Inslee put on will be lifted, and freedom and liberty will return to the citizens of Washington State. $30
card tabs, you've said in the past, why not 25? Why not 18?
Right.
Zero-based budget, you've talked a lot about that. We don't need to necessarily relitigate all of that, but are you going to make sure that education dollars get to where they're supposed to go? I mean, the lottery, It takes in a lot of money. Not sure how much of that makes it to the classroom. Also, all these tolls, gas taxes, things like that. How are we going to ensure that, or are you going to ensure? Is that something you're going to be focused on, making sure that dollars go where they're supposed to go?
Well, yeah, if there's a tax that was set up to go to some specific fund to fund any, whatever it is, if it's set up to be funding schools, then it should go into schools. If it's set up to fund law enforcement, then it should go into a fund to fund law enforcement.
Foreign criminals are eating filet mignon on unemployment benefit money stolen from the state. What say you on that? Should it be investigated?
Yes, it should be investigated. The person that was in charge of that department should have been fired the next day, if not that day. But that person is still there, still in that position. So it's like nobody's held accountable for anything. That will not be the case when I'm governor. Every person that I appoint to a department head will have the same mindset that I do about our government, that it is the servant of the citizens. Now, employment security had safeguards in place, right? They have for decades. I've been on both ends of this. I've been an employee and I've been an employer. I ran my own business for over 20 years. So I know what it goes on when you apply for unemployment. And they drop the safeguards and let scammers in there to take hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. We don't know for sure, right? Might be billions of dollars.
Yeah, it was at least $1 billion. It was at least $1 billion.
Illegal aliens. That's what they're telling us. So it could be more. I don't know. But yeah, there needs to be a full investigation and people need to be held accountable.
Illegal aliens, should they be getting benefits?
Absolutely not. Those benefits are set up for citizens of Washington State.
Sanctuary cities. How do you feel about sanctuary cities?
Sanctuary cities for our constitutional protected rights, yes. Sanctuary cities for people who enter our country illegally and commit crimes, no. They need to be kicked out of our country. If they're going to come here, right now, Washington State is a sanctuary state, thanks to James Lee signing that into law, right? So your local police, your local jail, when they have a criminal who is not in your local jail just because they came in this country illegally, they're in your local jail because they committed a crime in our community, right? Your local police cannot tell the federal government that this illegal criminal is about to be released back out into the community. It's against the law for them. They would be breaking the law if they told the federal government about that. But these people that are in our local jails committed crimes in our communities and are about to be released need to, local law enforcement needs to be able to notify the federal government so that these criminals can be deported out of our country. We have enough criminals of our own. We don't need people coming here and committing crimes and exacerbating the problem.
So 1639, a lot of people think that as governor, you can sit down and wave your magic wand. Like Obama said, I've got a phone and I've got a pen. And if the legislature of Congress won't do it, then Obama's going to do it. So a lot of people think that as governor, you can just sit down in the governor's mansion and just break out your magic pen and make everything go away. So how do you feel about 1639? How are you going to handle that?
Well, a lot of people, my Republican competitors, I've heard their speeches too. They say that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, you're not a dictator. The governor is not a dictator. Not going to walk in there and say that this law's gone, that law's gone. But I will tell people that the law enforcement will be empowered. I will be sending a letter to all of the sheriffs across this state, letting them know that they have the full backing of the governor and that they are the supreme law enforcement officer in their respective counties. And I will also be directing the state patrol that they will not violate any citizen's constitutional rights, period. And on that note, I've had people say, well, I don't want law enforcement deciding which laws they're going to enforce and which laws they're not going to enforce. Sure. That's up to the courts to decide. Well, yes and no. So if you think back to 1955, Montgomery, Alabama, when Rosa Parks got on a bus, the bus driver moved the signs back behind her and told her she had to get up and move back to make room for white passengers. She said no, she wasn't moving. And that bus driver called the police. The police officer showed up. and arrested Rosa Parks for sitting in the wrong seat because the bus driver moved the sign. So if you're saying that you don't want the police to decide which laws to enforce, which people to arrest, then I guess you're for Rosa Parks being arrested and taken to jail for sitting in the wrong seat of the bus. Now think back to World War II and in Nazi Germany. When it was against the law for Jews, it was the law that police officers and military had to arrest Jews and send them to concentration camps and kill millions and millions of them. Are you for the law enforcement? Do you support what they did in Germany? Because they were obeying the law, right? If your mentality is that the law is the law, police officers need to do what it says, well, you don't really understand your history, and you don't really understand the role of a public servant, which is Article 1, Section 1. The power is inherent in the people, and government is there to protect citizens' rights. So a police officer who would have got on the bus with Rosa Parks and said, no, I'm not arresting her, he would have done the right thing. He would have protected her civil rights. And he would have protected, like in Washington State, Article 1, Section 1. He would have been obeying the supreme law of the land and not violating someone's civil rights. So that's my take on it. If you support the police doing whatever the law says, then you were for Jim Crow laws. You were for arresting Rosa Parks. I don't think anybody that I know is for that kind of thing.
So Discovery Pass fees, what are we doing with those? We're getting rid of them, lowering them? What are we doing with those?
These are just another tax revenue, another tax avenue for the state. I don't see any reason why we are paying a tax to go onto the land that belongs to we the people in the beginning. So no, I would like to see those go. And I want to see the extra lanes that you have to pay for. I've been traveling a lot around this state, and the toll lanes. Yeah, what is
I had
that?
to pay $6 to go across the Tacoma Bridge the other day. $6.
Yeah,
It's
are
been
those
built
toll
for
lanes?
years.
Are those toll lanes are just for people that can afford it? What about the single mom who's trying to get to work to take care of her children? She has to be stuck in traffic while Mr. High Tech guy that's got the money, or Mr. Doctor or Mr. Lawyer, takes the expressway because he can afford to pay extra. But $6 is between her getting lunch for her kids or just getting to work. I don't agree with paying extra taxes to be on a different road or a different lane to get somewhere faster. The citizens of Washington State all pay taxes, and the lanes need to be opened up to all of the citizens, not just who can afford it.
We've got 5 minutes, couple more questions. Small business taxes and regulation. You've talked in the past, day one, you're going to have a stack of regulations that you can get rid of, that does not need the legislature. So we don't need to relitigate that. But how do you feel about small business taxes and regulations? Because these small business guys are getting killed.
Well, I was a small business owner for over 20 years, starting in 1988. I started that business from nothing. And I built it up over 20 years before I realized my childhood dream would become a police officer. I sold it to my youngest son, who still runs that business to this day. I've got other relatives. My brother is a small business owner as well. So I know that things have not gotten better since I got out of being a small business owner. And I know it was tough. This is not a business-friendly state. It's not a family-friendly state. But we need to get the government off of our backs, and we're going to start cutting regulations right off the bat. And I want taxes and fees down, way down. We're taking in double what we took in taxes for the state from when Jay Inslee took office till now. It's absolutely uncalled for. We need to cut spending, and every department head that I appoint will have that same mindset.